Children as young as 10 push coal carts up slopes so steep that slipping means being crushed by your own load. Their bodies, when they fall, are left underground. Retrieving them would slow production. This isn't from a history book or a movie. This is happening right now, according to Agent Lee, a former North Korean state security officer who spent 15 years inside the regime's most guarded operations. After reviewing classified reports about which types of food deprivation create the most compliance and which punishments produce the fastest psychological collapse, he can no longer stay silent. What you're about to hear isn't from satellite images or intelligence reports. This comes from a man who designed the system that breaks human souls and who can no longer live with what he's done. The phone rings at 3 a.m. in a safe house somewhere in Seoul. The man on the other end has a price on his head. For 15 years, he helped design and operate the machinery that destroys human souls. Now, he's ready to reveal exactly how the camps generate millions in profit from slave labor while perfecting the science of human suffering. Agent Lee worked for 15 years inside North Korea's state security department. His job was simple: find enemies of the state and make them disappear. But what started as a patriotic duty slowly became a nightmare that haunts him every single night.
가서 살아 돌아오는 사람이 한 명도 없다는 거죠. 한류 드라마를 봤다든지 그런 사람들도 가고, 그리고 일 안 나간다고 해서 그것도 다른 데 갈 수 있고요. 솔직히 결심 먹으면 다 갈 수 있습니다. 예, 다 들어갈 수 있는 곳입니다. 제로입니다. 정치범 수용소에서 살아나온 사람은 한 명도 없습니다.
Lee explains that he believed he was serving his country. The authorities told agents like him that these people were dangerous, that they threatened their way of life. But after years of watching innocent families destroyed, he realized the real enemy was the system he served. Lee's transformation didn't happen overnight. It began with small doubts, tiny cracks in his faith that grew into massive fractures. The first time he questioned everything was when he arrested a family of 4 for the crime of owning a single DVD of a South Korean drama. The children were so young, he remembers. The youngest was 6 years old. She kept asking for her mother as they separated the family. That sound, that cry, never leaves you. But Lee's role was tasked with something far more sinister: perfecting the camp system to break human spirits completely.
그런 거에는 이제 주범과 공범이 나눠져 있는데, 주범 같은 경우에는 총살이겠고, 공범 같은 경우는 이제 뭐 20-30년 받고 갈 수도 있는 거고, 좀 여러 가지 부류가 많기 때문에 제가 디테일하게 하나로 코스를 맞춰서 딱 말씀드릴 수가 없어요. 솔직히 북한의 법은 명시되어 있지만 그 법 울타리 밖에서 그 예시로 움직이는 것들이 너무 많아요.
As a state security officer, Lee had access to classified reports about camp operations that most people never see. He reveals that the camps are carefully designed, psychological warfare facilities meant to destroy every trace of individual identity. The regime studies every aspect of human psychology to maximize suffering while keeping prisoners productive enough to generate profit. Lee describes reviewing detailed reports about which types of food deprivation create the most compliance, how sleep schedules can break resistance, and which punishments produce the fastest psychological collapse. The camps generate massive profits for the regime through slave labor. Prisoners mine coal, manufacture textiles, grow food, and produce goods that get sold internationally. Lee estimates that each camp generates millions of dollars annually in pure profit, since the only costs are minimal food and guard salaries. But the economic benefits aren't the primary goal. The camps exist to terrorize the general population into absolute submission. Every North Korean knows someone who disappeared. Everyone understands that asking the wrong question or showing insufficient loyalty could mean their entire family vanishes forever.
그리고 교화소라든지 그런 데에 대해서는 이제 살아서만 돌아오라라는 생각을 하는 사람들이 많죠. 왜냐면 가면은 열악한 조건에서 살 수가 없어요. 솔직히 말씀드리면 거기서 뭐 쥐도 잡아먹고 뭐 진짜 별거, 그게 뭐 시체가 뭐 그냥 한 달에 몇 식구씩 나가는 곳이니까.
One of the most chilling aspects Lee reveals is how the 3-generation punishment system actually works in practice. This is methodically implemented to destroy entire bloodlines. When someone gets arrested for political crimes, security forces immediately compile lists of every family member going back 3 generations. Grandparents, parents, children, aunts, uncles, cousins. Everyone gets rounded up simultaneously in coordinated raids across multiple cities. Lee describes participating in these mass arrests, where dozens of agents would strike at the same moment to prevent anyone from escaping or warning others. Families would be separated immediately, often never seeing each other again, even within the same camp system. The psychological impact goes beyond the immediate victims. When extended families suddenly vanish, entire communities learn to fear even casual associations. People stop forming friendships, stop expressing opinions, stop trusting anyone outside their immediate household. Children born in the camps automatically inherit their parents' political classification, condemning them to lifelong imprisonment for crimes they never committed. These children grow up knowing nothing but captivity, creating generations of people who have never experienced freedom.
By challenging the party ideology, they don't just go after killing you or your son or grandma. They really go after a generation, like get rid of entire that clan. And that's how they prevent the revolution. It's called the zero tolerance.
Lee provides disturbing details about how the camps systematically strip away human dignity through carefully planned degradation. New arrivals are subjected to ritualistic humiliation designed to break their psychological resistance immediately. Guards force prisoners to crawl through the entrance gates like animals. They're stripped naked for invasive searches, while guards mock their bodies and appearance. Personal belongings are confiscated and often destroyed in front of them, severing their last connections to their previous lives. The registration process involves forcing prisoners to sign documents acknowledging that they are enemies of the state who deserve punishment. Many can't read these documents, but refusal to sign results in immediate violence. This creates psychological complicity that helps break down mental resistance. Living conditions are deliberately kept at the edge of survival. Prisoners receive just enough food to prevent mass starvation, but never enough to maintain strength or clear thinking. Chronic hunger creates desperation that makes people willing to betray others for tiny amounts of additional food. The concrete sleeping areas have no heating, bedding, or privacy. Dozens of people sleep pressed together on cold floors, creating conditions where disease spreads rapidly. The lack of medical care means even minor injuries often lead to permanent disability or death.
All about because they can. They can say, because I can. Like that's the authoritarians. Because they can, they do whatever they want. It's not about being right, doing the right thing or the right regulation. Because they can, simply tell them you're in the concentration camp, and then don't ask us why.
Lee describes the work system as deliberately designed to be both profitable and destructive. Prisoners work 12 to 16-hour shifts in dangerous conditions with primitive tools and no safety equipment. The most dangerous jobs go to political prisoners rather than common criminals. Coal mining operations force prisoners hundreds of feet underground with no ventilation, lighting, or structural support. Cave-ins and toxic gas exposure kill workers regularly, but production quotas never decrease. Children as young as 10 work in these mines, pushing heavy coal cars up steep inclines. Factory work involves handling dangerous chemicals and operating machinery without safety training. Textile workers develop lung diseases from inhaling fibers and dyes. Agricultural workers collapse from exhaustion during 18-hour harvest periods while being fed starvation rations.
So you worked in the farm entire year, right? I mean, that's like that we call job replacement. And then takes the harvest away, then regime don't gives you food. And then tell you be self-reliant. Find you always to survive, but if you trade, it's illegal, so they send you prison and kill you.
The quota system creates artificial competition between prisoners while ensuring most fail to meet impossible production targets. Failure results in punishment work details, reduced food rations, or public beatings that serve as warnings to others. Work leaders, selected from among the prisoners themselves, become enforcers of the system through promises of slightly better treatment. This creates hierarchies among prisoners that prevent unified resistance while making some victims complicit in oppressing others. What makes Lee's testimony particularly chilling is his insight into the psychological manipulation techniques used to maintain control. The regime employs sophisticated methods to break down personality and independent thought. Self-criticism sessions force prisoners to confess crimes every night before sleep. These sessions are psychological conditioning that makes people internalize guilt and shame. Over time, prisoners begin to actually believe they deserve their suffering. The confessions must be carefully calibrated, too minor, and the guards demand more serious admissions. Too serious, and the prisoner faces execution. This creates constant psychological tension, where prisoners must navigate between truth and survival while destroying their own self-respect.
Where they completely teach you how to teach you that you don't matter, and make sure to like get the dignity of human being gets rid of that at the point where you are not even a being anymore. Only reason you exist because of the Kims. That is the only your life purpose.
Guards deliberately create situations where prisoners must choose between personal survival and protecting others. Parents watch their children starve unless they betray fellow prisoners. These impossible choices create trauma that lasts long after release. Information control ensures prisoners never understand the full scope of their situation. They don't know how many camps exist, how many prisoners there are, or what's happening in the outside world. This isolation prevents hope and makes resistance seem futile. Lee reveals how the regime weaponizes basic human needs for companionship and family. Marriage becomes a privilege granted only to the most compliant prisoners after years of demonstrating absolute submission. Guards select marriage partners based on their own preferences rather than prisoner choice. Refusing an assigned partner means permanent exclusion from marriage, creating pressure to accept any relationship offered. This turns what should be personal choice into another form of control. Married prisoners receive slightly better living conditions and limited time together, but these privileges can be revoked instantly for any infraction. This makes spouses into surveillance tools who must monitor each other's behavior to protect their small improvements in life quality. The birth of children in camps creates additional leverage for control. Parents become more compliant because resistance could result in their children facing punishment. Children born in captivity never know normal family relationships, since their parents' time together is strictly regulated.
But then that's not only it. Even among the three generations, your in-laws, if you are married, the in-laws of their children, their fathers, their children goes. So even the in-laws, the blood, not the bloodline, get affected. If you are married, then you get affected.
Single women face particular horrors through systematic sexual exploitation by guards. Pregnancies resulting from assault lead to immediate execution, since guards want to hide evidence of their crimes. This creates an atmosphere of constant fear where women have no protection from abuse. Perhaps the most disturbing aspects of Lee's revelations concern the treatment of children born in or brought to the camps. These children grow up in conditions that destroy normal human development from their earliest years. Infants are left alone for 12 to 16 hours daily while mothers work, creating attachment disorders and developmental delays. Many die from neglect, malnutrition, or preventable diseases since medical care is essentially non-existent. Education consists only of basic literacy and numeracy needed for work assignments. Children learn no history, science, literature, or critical thinking skills. Their worldview is limited to camp life and absolute obedience to authority. Physical punishment for children matches adult brutality without regard for age or size. Lee describes seeing guards beat children unconscious for minor infractions, while other children watch as warnings about the consequences of disobedience.
나와가지고 이렇게 어려웠댔다. 일단 나오면은 사람이 반쪽이 있다나마나 무슨 살아있는 해골이 나오는 것 같아가지고 사람들이 그냥 놀랍니다. 병보석으로 나온 사람들 보면 기가 막혀요. 그냥 세탁해갖고 그냥 뭐 아우 처참합니다. 솔직히.
Lee provides insider knowledge about why so few prisoners successfully escape the camps. The physical challenges are only the beginning of nearly impossible obstacles that await anyone attempting to flee. The camps are strategically located in remote mountainous areas surrounded by natural barriers. Malnourished, exhausted prisoners must traverse hundreds of miles of wilderness without food, shelter, or knowledge of the outside world. Guard incentive systems make escape attempts extremely dangerous. Any guard who kills an escaping prisoner receives automatic admission to university, a massive privilege in North Korea's rigid class system. This turns every guard into a hunter, eager for the chance to shoot prisoners. The informant network among prisoners makes planning escapes almost impossible. The rewards for reporting escape plans are substantial enough that desperate, hungry prisoners will betray others to receive additional food or reduce punishment.
If they can hide, I mean, usually South Chinese soldiers don't even bother to arrest, just shoot them all, and the animals come eat you.
They just shoot you.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's in the border is a shoot to kill order. They don't bother to arrest you. You gotta shoot them if you see any foreign object there. And so they just don't want to be bothered. Too much work for them, too much paperwork they have to fill out when we caught them, how we caught them, right? So they just shoot you, and then like animals gonna do the job for them.
Even successful escapes from the camps don't guarantee freedom. Escapees must then navigate North Korea's broader surveillance system, cross heavily guarded borders, and survive in foreign countries where they may be returned to face execution. The psychological damage from years of captivity makes adjustment to freedom extremely difficult for the few who do escape. Many struggle with survivor guilt, depression, and inability to trust others after years of betrayal and violence. Lee's most harrowing revelations concern the execution procedures used to terrorize prisoners and eliminate those who resist the system. These public killings serve multiple purposes beyond simple punishment. Executions are deliberately scheduled as a public spectacles that all prisoners must attend. The ritual humiliation begins with forcing condemned prisoners to crawl to the execution site, while guards and prisoners throw stones and spit on them. The charges read publicly are usually fabricated or massively exaggerated, but prisoners must participate in the condemnation or face punishment themselves. This forces victims to become complicit in the murder of fellow prisoners. Execution methods vary depending on the message guards want to send. Shooting, hanging, and beating to death all serve different psychological purposes in maintaining control through terror. The bodies are left displayed as warnings to others.
So the first bullet, it went into eyes. The eyes was covered, and that bullet popped out the eyes. And secondary bullets went into the belly button, where the belly was tied up as well.
Family members of executed prisoners face additional punishment and social isolation. Their association with executed criminals makes them targets for increased surveillance and abuse. This extends the impact of executions beyond the immediate victims. The randomness and severity of executions creates an atmosphere where any prisoner could face death at any moment for any reason. This constant fear prevents resistance and makes survival seem dependent on absolute compliance with every rule. Lee's current existence in South Korea demonstrates the lasting impact of his years inside the system. Despite being free for over 5 years, he struggles with guilt, nightmares, and the knowledge that his actions contributed to immense suffering. The transition to normal society proves nearly impossible for someone who spent years dehumanizing others. Basic social interactions feel foreign after a career built on surveillance, betrayal, and violence. Trust becomes almost impossible when your survival once depended on suspecting everyone. Physical symptoms from years of stress manifest as chronic health problems that no doctor can fully address. The psychological wounds run deeper than any medication can reach. Sleep brings only nightmares of the people he arrested and the families he destroyed. Yet Lee continues speaking out because silence would mean the victims died for nothing. Every testimony, every interview, every painful recounting of his experiences serves as evidence that the world cannot ignore. The truth becomes his only path toward redemption.
부대에서도 거길로 항상 포신을 갖다 대고 있는 부대들이 있어요. 꽝 하면 바로 거기에 있는 사람은 사살입니다. 흔히 북한에서 그러잖아요. 밖에 눈에 보이는 적보다 내부에 있는 적이 더 위험하다고 하면서 거기 있는 교화소 그리고 정치범 수용소는 전쟁이 일어나면 그냥 거기에 있는 사람들 싹 사살입니다. 교육 자체를 그렇게 하고 있고요.
His message is simple but urgent. The camps are not ancient history or exaggerated propaganda. They operate right now, destroying lives while the world debates politics and economics. Real people are suffering unimaginable horrors while we live our normal lives. Lee's revelations make clear that North Korea's camp system has not improved or diminished over time. If anything, surveillance technology and control mechanisms have become more sophisticated and effective at preventing resistance or escape. Recent intelligence suggests the camp population may be larger than ever, with new categories of political crimes leading to mass arrests. Accessing foreign media, questioning government policies, or even expressing mild dissatisfaction can result in imprisonment for entire families.
그 정치범 수용소 관리하는 것이 보이부예요. 저희 작은 아버님께서도 정치범 수용소 가서 군복무를 했어요. 말하자면 경비병으로 갔던 거죠. 경비병으로 가가지고 그냥 4중, 5중으로 돼 있고요. 만약 그것도 만약에 뚫고 나온다고 하면은 그 주변 마을 자체가 다 신고 체계로 돼 있기 때문에 튀었다고 한들 1시간도 못 넘깁니다. 튀을 수가 없어요.
The economic benefits of slave labor give the regime powerful incentives to maintain and expand the camp system. Products made by prisoners enter international markets through complex supply chains that make tracing their origins nearly impossible. The only hope for the prisoners lies in continued international attention, pressure, and eventual regime change. But change seems distant while millions continue suffering in conditions that challenge our understanding of human cruelty. Coal mined by prisoners gets exported to China and beyond, powering factories and homes across Asia. Textiles sewn by women working 16-hour shifts end up in clothing sold worldwide. Seafood processed by camp workers reaches dinner tables in dozens of countries through complex trading networks. The regime has mastered the art of laundering prison-made goods through multiple intermediaries. Chinese companies purchase raw materials and semi-finished products from the camps, then incorporate them into larger manufacturing processes. By the time these goods reach international markets, their origins become virtually untraceable.
예. 그리고 화장품도 만들고 자전거도 만들고 중국에서 오다를 주면 그 교화소에 가가지고 뭐 돈 안 줘도 되지 않습니까? 그리고 일을 얼마나 잘해요. 예. 그리고 하루 24시간 중에 20시간도 일 시킬 수 있는 것이 바로 그런 데 아니겠습니까? 그렇기 때문에 그게 노동력이에요. 노동력으로 사용을 하고 있습니다.
This economic integration gives the regime crucial foreign currency that funds the camp system itself. Every dollar earned from prison labor helps purchase surveillance equipment, weapons for guards, and vehicles for transporting new victims. The camps become self-funding through the exploitation of their own prisoners. Lee describes reviewing financial reports showing millions of dollars in annual revenue from camp operations. This money flows directly to the ruling elite, while the workers who generate it receive only starvation rations and constant abuse. The profitability ensures the system's continuation regardless of international condemnation. Perhaps the most shocking aspect Lee reveals involves the complete absence of medical care for prisoners, combined with deliberate medical experimentation on vulnerable populations. The camps serve as testing grounds for various forms of physical and psychological torture disguised as treatment. Prisoners with serious injuries or illnesses receive no real medical attention. Broken bones are left to heal incorrectly, creating permanent disabilities that make escape even more impossible. Infections spread unchecked through overcrowded living areas, killing the weak and elderly first. When medical intervention does occur, it often involves crude procedures performed without anesthesia or proper instruments. Amputations using rusty tools become routine for crush injuries from industrial accidents. Dental problems are solved by pulling teeth with pliers in front of other prisoners as warnings about complaining.
North Korea, you never hear that people died from stroke or people died from like cancer. You don't wait that long to get killed by disease. Like other things kill us first. So North Korea's life expectancy is extremely low.
Lee witnessed experiments involving nutritional deprivation designed to test how little food humans need to remain productive. Different groups received varying rations, while guards monitored their work output and physical deterioration. The results helped optimize starvation levels across the entire camp system. Psychological experiments included isolation techniques, sensory deprivation, and methods for breaking family bonds between parents and children. These studies aimed to perfect control mechanisms that could be applied throughout North Korean society, using prisoners as test subjects for broader oppression strategies. Lee's testimony forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about our responsibilities as free people. How long can we ignore systematic atrocities because they happen in a distant, closed country? What obligation do we have to people suffering unimaginable horrors right now? The prisoners in North Korea's camps are not abstract statistics or historical curiosities. They are human beings experiencing torture, starvation, and death, while we debate the complexities of international relations and economic interests. Every day we delay action is another day of suffering for millions of innocent people. whose only crime was being born in the wrong place or asking the wrong questions. Their pain is real, immediate, and happening right now as you read these words. Lee's courage in speaking out provides a roadmap for what's possible when people choose truth over safety. His testimony could be dismissed, ignored, or forgotten, but it could also become the evidence that finally forces the world to act. The choice is ours. Remain comfortable in ignorance or face the difficult truth that demands action. History will judge how we respond to evidence of ongoing crimes against humanity. 25 million people remain trapped in a system designed to crush human dignity and destroy individual identity. Their freedom depends on whether those of us with voices choose to use them. The time for comfortable silence is over. The time for action is now.